So today I'm doing something a little bit sketchy. I went onto Aliexpress and I ordered the cheapest possible parts that I could to build my own custom watch. Now we're going to go over everything that I ordered, how it all comes together, and what kind of results you can actually expect for the lowest possible cost. This is going to be interesting. What is up everyone, I'm Jason from jb.watchmods. Welcome back to the channel. Now today's video was inspired by the members over on my Patreon page, which by the way, if you haven't already, go and check it out. It's linked in the description below. Now we've got a lot of newcomers to the hobby over on my Patreon page, and that got me thinking, what is the lowest cost of entry into this great little hobby? So naturally I jumped onto AliExpress to search for the cheapest parts I could possibly find. So the first thing that I came across was a Seiko VH31 Mecha Quartz movement, a sweeping seconds hand at only $13.99. Perfect. Next up, I found a nice 37mm case to house that VH31 movement, and it's only $10.59. In the cart it goes. Then I found the dial. Now I must admit I shelled out a few extra dollars just to get something that I was really happy with. Now this one was $6.39 and the handset to go with it came in at $3.63. What a bargain. And last but not least, I needed a strap so I could actually wear this thing. Now I found a perfect NATO strap and it's only $1.66. Now that is everything that I need, and it came to a whopping sum of $39.58, or just on $25. How good is that? So let's take a closer look at these parts, see what we're in for, and start this build. Okay, so let's grab our movement and our spacer and pair the two together. Now to do this, it is very simple. All you need to do is grab your movement, grab the spacer and click the two together. Now the only thing to watch out for is that you need to line up the crown stem hole in the movement with the little gap in the movement spacer. And that large flat tab on the back of the movement spacer will just hold that battery firmly in place. And it should click in just like that. Now one thing I did notice on this cheaper movement spacer is that there are no holes in it for the dial feet. Now here's another spacer that does cost quite a fair bit more, but it does have those dial feet already in the spacer ready to go, making it a fair bit easier when you attach the dial. But that just means that we need to cut all of these dial feet off the back of the dial so we can fit it to our movement and spacer. So to do that, I'm going to grab my side cutters and snip these dial feet off. Now, I always find that I'm left with these small little stubs on the back of the dial after removing the dial feet. So I've got a little Dremel that I use just to file these stubs nice and flat so that it will sit flush on that movement spacer when it's fitted. And once you do file those nubs down, just make sure to give it a quick clean off just so there are no metal shavings left on the back of that dial. But now let's get ready to fit this dial to the movement, and to do that we're going to need to use some double-sided tape. Now you can use a product called Dial Dots, which is made specifically for this purpose, but I like to use what I've already got lying around, and bezel tape is perfect for this job. So my plan is to cut 3 small strips of tape to stick on the flat surface of the movement spacer. This will be more than enough to hold that dial in place and stop it from moving. And as you can see here, I've stuck those strips of tape down evenly around that movement spacer just to distribute the load and make sure that this dial sticks for good. Now I'll just go around with my pliers just to make sure that everything is stuck down nice and firmly before removing the protective layer from the double-sided tape. I find that a scalpel or something small and sharp is really effective at doing this job. I used to struggle for ages trying to get the tape off these things. And before we stick this dial down for good, I'm going to grab my rotor coat and just give it one last clean just to be sure that there's no metal shavings on the back of this dial. Now we can fit this dial and we need to line it up perfectly because once it's stuck down, there's no going back. Well, we can take it off, but it would be a giant pain. So let's try and get this right the first time. So to help me line it up correctly, there's 2 things that I use to align the dial with, and that is the center post and the crown hole in the movement. Now the 3 o'clock marker on the dial needs to align directly above the crown hole in the movement, and the center post on the movement needs to be precisely in the middle of the hole in the dial. If you have these 2 key indicators lined up perfectly, I can guarantee your dial will be spot on every time. One last quick clean and we can move on to the next step, which is fitting the handset. But first, we need to fit a dummy crown to this movement so we can control the hands when we're fitting them. And to do this, just grab the crown stem that will come with the new movement that you've purchased and use the crown from the case. Screw the crown onto the crown stem and then fit it into the movement. Now, first up is our hour hand, and because this dial doesn't have a date or date window, we can set the hour hand at any position. It doesn't matter at this stage, as long as the hand is pointing at the 12 o'clock position. Now to hold the hour hand, I roll a piece of rotoco into a cone shaped and then insert the hour hand into the end of that cone. I've found that this is the best way to hold the hand without leaving any marks or scratching the hand. Just be sure to use good quality rotoco as the cheap stuff will leave smudges on those hands. Now, when it comes to the hour hand post in this movement, you need to be careful. I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like it's plastic, so don't go forcing it as you may break the post. Just take your time and be gentle with it. Setting the hands can be challenging, especially when you're just starting out, but there are a few things that you can do to make it a little bit easier for yourself. The first is have a well-lit workspace. Having good lighting on the subject makes it 100 times easier. I cannot stress this enough. And once you have a well-lit workspace, having the movement at eye level makes the job a whole lot easier. Actually being able to see what you're doing, believe it or not, can make a world of difference. So up next is our minute hand, and when we fit this, we need to fit it directly above the 12 o'clock marker, just like our hour hand is. And that rocking technique that you see I'm using is just to make sure that that hand is sitting flush and level. Once the hand is fitted, I like to rotate the movement over a few times just to make sure that we have clearance between all of the hands. Make sure that the hour hand isn't hitting on the dial or that the minute hand doesn't hit on that hour hand. Then we can line everything back up at 12 o'clock just to make sure that everything is in sync as it should be. And once we're happy with how everything is looking, we can move on to the last hand and possibly the most challenging hand, the second hand. Now to do this, I use exactly the same method as I do when I'm setting the other hands. There is nothing special or different about the second hand, but the fact that it is quite a bit smaller makes it a bit more of a challenge. But like anything in life, it just takes a little bit of practice and a little bit of patience. And once that hand is pressed on, we'll do the same as before and just double check all of our clearances, rotating that movement over just to make sure that everything clears. And you can see here that every hand is sitting nice and flat and there's plenty of space in between them. Now that the hands are fitted, let's remove this crown stem. There's a small tab that needs to be depressed in order to release the crown stem, and the crown stem needs to be pushed all the way in before you can depress that releasing tab. I use a small screwdriver to hold pressure on that tab while pulling out the crown with my ring finger. Now that we've got our crown stem removed from the movement, the next step is to prep the case for our movement. Now the only thing we really need to do here is to get that crystal spotless. And to do this, I use an air blower and my lens pen. I found that these are the best tools by far to get that crystal nice and clean every time. Once we're happy that that crystal is nice and clean, we'll give the dial one last blowdown before pairing the two together. Now to pair the movement to the case, it's as simple as leaving the dial in movement on your movement cushion and placing the case over the top of it. It should pop into place nice and easily. Then we can flip it over, make sure it's lined up in the back by checking the crown hole with the crown tube in the case, and we can move on to the next step, which is going to be cutting our crown stem to the right length. Now, there are a few ways to do this, but the way I do it is by inserting the crown stem with the crown fitted into the case and checking by eye the distance between the crown and the case. This distance is how much needs to be cut off the crown stem. In this case, it looks to be about 5mm, so time to pull the crown stem back out, remove the crown and cut about 5mm off the crown stem. Now you can see here that I'm being fairly cautious with that 5mm measurement. It's always better to cut a little bit less, as if you cut too much off, the crown stem becomes no good as it won't be able to engage with the movement when it's fitted in the case. It's always good to keep some spare crown stems on hand just in case you do cut it too short. And I always give the threads in the crown stem a quick file down just to remove any burrs from the threads. Now, after all that work, you can see that we're still about 3mm too long. So we need to repeat that process and remove roughly 3mm from the crown stem. The goal here is to get that crown sitting flush up against the case when the crown is pushed all the way in. Now, I'm feeling pretty confident this time around, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some Loctite before fitting that crown. The Loctite is good insurance to make sure that that crown doesn't unwind itself from the crown stem unintentionally. Now, you only need a small dab of Loctite and I've put on way too much here, so just make sure you always wipe off any excess before fitting it back into the movement. And now that it's all cleaned up, we can fit it back into the movement for hopefully the final time. And it looks like we have nailed it. You can see here when the crown is pushed all the way in, it sits up perfectly against that case. Now for the final step of this watch head assembly is fitting the case back. Now there is a small rubber gasket that is fitted to the case back that we're going to lubricate before fitting this case back. So we'll remove this gasket, pop it in some silicone lubricant and then reinstall it back onto the case back. Once that gasket's installed, we're ready to seal up this watch. Now, being a cheaper case, This watch uses a pressed in case back, which means it doesn't really have the best water resistance rating, but it's cheap and easy to make. So to fit the case back, we're going to need to bust out our press and press this on. Now it really doesn't take a lot of pressure to put this case back on, so you could probably almost do it by hand, but I've got the press, so why not use it? And now that that case back's on, we are on the home stretch. Now the case didn't come with any spring bars to fit a strap, which is probably a given considering the price of this case. So I had to find some spare spring bars that I had lying around, as the strap that I ordered didn't come with spring bars either. So just something to keep in mind when you're ordering parts that are this cheap. Once the spring bars are fitted, we can fit our NATO strap and this watch is just about done. And just a quick reminder that I will leave everything that I've used in this video linked in the description below. Head down into the description of this video to check it out for yourself. But now let's see how this watch looks. That is going to do it for today's video. I would love to know in the comments section below what you guys thought of today's build. Now for me, it's not my favorite looking watch and it probably won't get a lot of wrist time, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't a fun process to do. And I'm going to throw this challenge out there to you guys. Who can build a cheaper watch? If you think you can beat $25 US, I would love to see it. Drop it in the comments section below and I can check it out. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, go and check out my Patreon page. It'll be linked in the description below. I do a monthly watch giveaway and we have a great community over there. I would love to see you over there. Until next time, see you in the next video.